So today I thought I'd make a little bit of a different video because me and consistency don't mix. So it's not exactly history related. Well, kind of, but it's about movies. It's about the history of the MCU or the MCM, depending on how you want to look at it. I'm a huge fan of the movies, and since Shang-Chi just opened today in theaters, I thought I'd run through the history of the movies because they're awesome, and I highly recommend it. And I've done a series on Loki, if you've seen, kind of, and yeah, I thought I'd celebrate Shang-Chi with the history of the MCU. So we start with Iron Man 2008, the film that really started everything. Tony Stark being this billionaire selling weapons to really anyone, the US government, and even criminals. And he is in Afghanistan, I think. I'm not entirely sure. And he gets kidnapped by a terrorist organization, later kind of belonging to the Ten Rings, kind of. That becomes more important later on. Anyway, and he manages to escape with the help of a professor and manages to build like a kind of draft armor, later called Ironmonger. And he escapes and then goes back home to New York, and he perfects the armor and, well, becomes Iron Man. And he saves people and he becomes famous, and then at the end of the movie, he says, I am Iron Man. I guess a really bad summary, but Then we have that same year, The Incredible Hulk. This movie is often ignored when you talk about the MCU because MCU, I mean Marvel Cinematic Universe, by the way. But it's often ignored when talking about the MCU because it's not the best Marvel movie. It's not a bad movie. It's just not up to the standard of the rest. And the main actor is not the one who plays Hulk later on. Edward Norton, he is only cast in this movie, and that's it. From Avengers onwards, it's Mark Ruffalo. And yeah, I mean, you have at the beginning him being injected with the gamma radiation, and then struggling to handle. He works in a factory, and is struggling to control the Hulk. There's this scene where he is kind of having sex, and his heartbeat goes a bit woohoo, and he kind of almost turns into the Hulk. And this other guy called Emil, he takes some gamma radiation but doesn't have the same effect and turns him into the Abomination. He appears later on in the show, in the show series. And that is the Incredible Hulk. That's all you really need to know. Then you have Iron Man 2, and this is 2010. 2009, Marvel didn't really release anything. So we're in 2010. Iron Man 2, he starts getting poisoning. That's Tony Stark again, starts getting poisoning because of the thing he has here. It's like an arc reactor. That's kind of in the first movie. He gets kidnapped, some shrapnel goes into his heart from a bomb, and he has this to keep him alive. And I guess he's kind of getting infected by it. And here we meet Natasha Romanoff, and this is the one where Nick Fury kind of plays a bigger role. They try to get him to join the Avengers. And this is the one with the suits and with the whole Justin Hammer thing. Whiplash, a really cool scene with in the race track. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. And yeah, in terms of character advancement, the most important thing that happens is Pepper and Tony, they get together. Then the next movie is Thor, and it happens in 2011. Now this movie is good. It's just not like amazing. It's like with Iron Man 2. For me, it's the worst one of the Iron Man trilogy. People disagree, but anyway. And Thor, the worst one of the Thor trilogy for me is the first one. I'll get on to the best ones as I go along. Now here you have Thor and Loki and Lady Sif and the Warriors 3. They go to Jotunheim and fight the Frost Giants, And Loki discovers he's a frost giant, he's adopted, he's not really the son of Odin. And, well, Odin gets mad because they disobeyed his command because he told Thor to not go to Jotunheim. But he did. He ignored it anyway. And he vanished him to Earth and stripped him of his ability to, lift the hammer. There he meets Jane Foster. And, well, eventually he manages to prove himself worthy and lifts the hammer. Blah, blah, blah. And then we have the next movie that same year, Captain America: The First Avenger. Yet another origin movie. Out of the trilogy, I think it's the worst one, but it's a really good movie. This is set in the 1940s. The rest of the movies I've mentioned so far are set in the year they came out, but this is set in the 1940s. It's this kid from Brooklyn who can't join the army. Because his health is terrible, gets injected with the soldier serum and becomes big, strong, and you know what I mean. And he fights Hydra, headed by the Red Skull, which is like the science division of the Nazis. And here we get introduced to really the first Infinity Stone, and that is his Tesseract. More on those later. And yeah, well, by the end, Red Skull wants to nuke New York, or really nuke the US, and Captain America, in order to save New York, and well, he has the Tesseract with him. In order to save it, he just dives into ice, and people think he's dead. But he's actually just frozen and wakes up 70 years later. And here we have the Avengers 2012. This was a huge deal when it came out, and because it's a grouping of heroes you have. So it's the original 6 Avengers: Tony Stark, Steve Rogers, Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Hawkeye, and Black Widow. Black Widow and Hawkeye are the only ones who don't have an origin movie in the MCU at all. Black Widow, she does have a movie later on, more on that later, and Hawkeye is getting his TV show. But neither of them have an origin movie, whilst all the other 4 do. And here we have Loki, who is kind of under the control of Thanos. More on him later. He comes to Earth with another Infinity Stone, the Mind Stone, and a scepter, and he controls people, including Hawkeye, and tries to open this portal to let the Chitauri alien army into New York and take over, and so Loki could rule the world. And he tries to get the Tesseract as well, but fails, and eventually Tony manages to get the nuke that the government is trying to send to New York and throw it into the portal, therefore killing the Chitauri, and they win. Voila, and they have trauma in the end. And, well, it's kind of traumatic for the heroes because in Iron Man 3, the next year, 2013, it does deal a lot with Tony's PTSD because he has the horrible visions and horrible trauma from the incident. I said the incident because it is referenced to the whole attack in New York is called the incident by other people, including Daredevil in the show Daredevil. Surprise, surprise. And it really deals with a terrorist attack on Tony by the 10 Rings and the Mandarin. More on that later. And yeah, well, he manages to escape. He escapes with his life and ends up in the house of a kid. He has himself. I mean, the kid knows who he is, but he's the mechanic. There's also this really evil guy who has these fire people, and the evil guy has the world's most punchable face. I swear to God, every time he came on screen, I just wanted to punch him. He's horrible. I hate him. And here, Pepper, she also she gets some superpowers from the fire people I told you about. And Tony disposes of his suits in a like a cool like fireworky thing. It's really cool. It's at the end of the movie. And it's saying Christmas, so by that logic, Iron Man 3 is a Christmas movie. And personally, it is the best one out of the three. A lot of people would disagree with me. And yeah, the next one we have Thor the Dark World. Now, this movie is absolutely amazing in my point of view. It's not in terms of cinematography, in terms of, like plot, because the plot is alright, but it's the characters. I love the characters. It's the same people I told you about. And here we are introduced to yet another Infinity Stone, the Ether. And what's the Ether? It's in on Earth, and Jane Foster, she touches it, and Thor takes it back to Asgard, and then the Dark Elves, they try to take it back, and all you take from this movie is that Loki dies. He dies again. He dies in Thor 1, but doesn't really die. But dies here. But it's later revealed to be a fake out. He's alive. But I mean, that movie in terms of plot is not really, the best, but in terms of character, it's amazing. And that's why I think it's a really good movie. It's not I think I said it's the best one, the trilogy. It's not. It's the second best trilogy. The worst one is Thor. The best one is Ragnarok. More on that later. And that was also in 2013. Then we have Captain America the Winter Soldier, 2014. This movie, it's a really good movie. People think it's one of the best Marvel movies, if not the best. I really like it. It's just not the best. And it deals with, S.H.I.E.L.D. has been infiltrated by Hydra, and Captain America, he has to deal with it. But also they have this really new super soldier with a serum, has a metal arm. Turns out it's Bucky, his friend from Brooklyn from the first movie, but of course, 1940s. In the first movie, he fell from a train, and landed on ice. And his super serum in his body allowed him to survive, and we put him in cryosleep, and hence why he's alive. But he doesn't remember Steve. He even says, "Who the hell is Bucky?" And Steve even says, "You know me." And Bucky says, "No, I don't." His mind has been wiped. He does remember a bit later on, but yeah. Nick Fury fakes his death. Also a thing you need to know. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Then Guardians of the Galaxy. This movie, I remember it being kind of, is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Because no one knew who these were. It's Peter Quill, Gamora, Peter Quill, Star-Lord, Gamora, Rocket, Groot, Drax. Peter Quill, he is abducted from Earth by alien called Yondu. It reveals who he abducting her in order to take him to his father, but he never does it. And he becomes this Ravager and goes after an orb, another Infinity Stone, the Power Stone. We're only missing. We're only missing one. Yeah. Time, space, power, ether. What's the other two? Ether is the reality stone. Then it's the time stone. Anyway, another point. And really, Gamora is trying to get the Power Stone for Thanos, but later she changes teams and joins Peter Quill. Kind of get together. They're thrown into jail, but then they break out. It's really funny. And Groot dies, but then he's also reborn as Groot 2, or like young Groot, baby Groot, and it's absolutely adorable. And it's a really funny movie, really funny. Then we have Avengers Age of Ultron, released in 2015. This has to be personally my favorite out of the Avengers movies. Because it's not such a big deal like Infinity War and End Game, but it's not as little as Avengers. And I can perfectly quote two things from the movie because Hawkeye is my favorite character. People really disagree with me on that, but I love Hawkeye as a character, and I can quote some of his lines because this movie he's absolutely amazing in it. First it is, "The city is flying. We're fighting an army of robots, and I have a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense." He says that to Wanda. I will explain a bit in a second. And then the next one is, "Nobody would know. Nobody. Last I saw him, Ultron was sitting on him. That quick little bastard. Yeah, he'll be missed. I miss him already." And he's talking about Pietro Maximoff. And before he was talking to Wanda Maximoff. Okay, so this movie. Tony, he creates this AI thing called he has Jarvis, but called Ultron, in order to protect the world. He creates it using Loki's scepter, and it kind of becomes independent, overthrows Jarvis, and takes control, and tries to gains the alliance of two gifted people who were gifted by the Mind Stone, and that is Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch. More on that later. And Pietro Maximoff, Quicksilver. He's also in the X-Men movies. Not the actor, but the character. And she's weird, he's fast. She can move things with her mind. Her hands do weird things. Pietro did not see that coming. That is a reference to the movies. And yeah, they fight, and then Wanda and Pietro realize they're on the wrong side, join the Avengers. So the thing is, Pietro does die at the end of the movie, but it's a really good movie. And honestly, I love Hawkeye in that movie specifically. Okay. I have the list of the movies here, by the way. If you're wondering why I'm going up to the side, I have a list of the movies. I know them, but I just don't want to mess the order up. Okay, the next one is Ant-Man. Now, this movie is absolutely hilarious. It's Paul Rudd. And the best character is not even Ant-Man, it's Luis. The way he tells stories is quite awesome. And you have Michael Douglas as well. So, this movie is top tier. It's so good. He's this criminal who gets fired from his job at an ice cream place, Baskin Robbins, and he turns back to crime. It's kind of set up by Hank Pym to wear the Ant-Man suit. He can shrink really small, and he fights Yellow Jacket, another guy who had previously worked with Hank Pym and had also the technology to shrink down really tiny. And also Sam Wilson, Falcon, is in this movie. I've mentioned him. He is from Captain America Winter Soldier. He appears at the beginning of the movie and is Falcon. And he has a quick little cameo here. And the final battle is hilarious. They're fighting in Cassie, Scott being Ant-Man, Cassie's room, and they're fighting on the train set. And there's some scenes where it's just a train set, it looks normal, but then we just zoom in where they are actually fighting for them, it's kind of like there was an actual train. So yeah. And you also get introduced to Hope, who will later become the Wasp. Then we have Captain America Civil War 2016. For me, the best movie out of the whole trilogy. Captain America trilogy. It is amazing. It's just heroes fighting against heroes. At the beginning of the movie, Scarlet Witch, she tries to control some gas that accidentally ends up blowing up a building, and this triggers the government's trying to sign the Sokovia Accords. Some people in the Avengers sign it, some people don't. Oh, I forgot to mention how Vision is created in Age of Ultron. But anyway, some people sign the Accords, some people don't. And then it turns out it turns a massive conflict. They fight in this airport, and you have Team Cap, who don't believe in sending the Accords, and that is Wanda, that is Clint, that is Falcon, that is Ant-Man. You have Team Iron Man, who they do believe they need to send the Accords, and that is Vision, Black Widow, Rhodey, Spider-Man, who was introduced in this movie. And then at the end, you also get introduced to Simo, really, really interesting villain. This movie, in the next, where he appears next, he's not so much a villain. But anyway, you get introduced to Simo, and also how the Winter Soldier is controlled. Also, in Team Cap is obviously Bucky. And yeah, that's what you can get from that. Then you have Doctor Strange, and this movie's again so good, also in 2016. And it's Benedict Cumberbatch, so what could go wrong? And it's this guy who is a surgeon, is in an accident, loses the ability to use his hands, so turns to non-conventional methods, and it's like real, and learns magic, has like a real cool thing he does, and defeats Hysilius. And there's the best scene in the movie, is where he's fighting this evil guy from the Dark Dimension. And he could keep on dying, but because he has the time stone, another infinity stone, he can have a time loop. So he just keeps on saying, Dormammu, I've come to bargain, and Dormammu kills him. But then, seconds later, he appears again and it's like, Dormammu, I've come to bargain. That's really funny. And you also get introduced to Wong, who is hilarious. Yeah. Then you have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And this is kind of similar to Volume 1, it's 2017, and it's really dealing with Peter Quill finding his dad, Ego, who is this really evil guy who is a planet, and eventually he did kill, is responsible for the death of Peter Quill's mom. And yeah, it's the same people, except you add Mantis, who worked for Ego. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is a really good movie. It's just, I don't think there's much else to say. Here you don't have Groot because Groot died. They have Spider-Man Homecoming, the first Spider-Man movie in the MCU. Really, really good movie. The story of Peter Parker with Tom Holland. And it is so good. Honestly, it deals with him being, he's already a Spider-Man by the time he comes into, like in the movie. It does start with him going to the airport for Civil War, and it shows his life as a teenager, but also how he kind of fights crime, and it's just a really good movie, and the humor is on point. And we get introduced to MJ at the end of the movie. We see her throughout the movie, we just don't know she's MJ. Yeah. And Ned leads the guy in the chair. He is absolutely hilarious. Then you have Thor Ragnarok. This is the best movie in the Thor trilogy, and pretty much everyone agrees with me. Taika Waititi did an excellent job at directing this movie. And it turns out that Thor and Loki had another sibling called Hela. She comes, banishes Thor and Loki, and takes over Asgard. Takes over Asgard, and kills a lot of people. Meanwhile, Thor and Loki, they're on this planet with the Grandmaster, who is played by Jeff Goldblum, so you can kind of imagine how the character is. And we also meet Valkyrie. They managed to escape this planet, which has Hulk in it, by the way, who he kind of left after Age of Ultron. And yeah. And then they eventually destroy Ragnarok in order to try and kill Hela. They succeed. And they destroy Asgard. They have Black Panther 2018. Most people say this is an amazing movie, and it's really good. I just don't see the hype. It's really good. It's just not so good. It stars the late Chadwick Boseman, and it's his role as being King of Wakanda, and Black Panther, and yeah, I mean, he's fighting his way through things, trying to get things done to stop things from happening. I've seen the movie. I'm trying to think of how to describe it to you because I don't want to sound like I haven't seen it. How do I say this? I mean, Shuri, she's absolutely amazing in this movie. She has some of the most iconic lines in the MCU, like, "What are those? Why'd you have your toes out in my lab?" I love Shuri. Then I have Avengers Infinity War. Now, this movie, oh my god, it's so good. And it deals with the 6 Infinity Stones and Thanos on his journey to collect them in order to try and snap life out of existence. Problem is, why did he just double the resources? But anyway, he wins the fight. There's like several fighting places. There's the Wakanda battle, and there's a Titan battle. Titan battle is Tony, Doctor Strange, Peter Parker, and some of the Guardians. And the Wakanda battle is Thor, who has a new hammer because Hell destroyed his in Ragnarok. Rocket, Groot, and then the rest of it. Captain America and the Black Panther crew. And you should know that Thanos wins and kills half of the people, including, Spider-Man. Then you have Ant-Man and the Wasp. Here you have the introduction of Hope Van Dyne. She's a wasp. They fight people together. They fight Ghost, who I felt like so bad for her. She's just misfortunate. And here Scott turns to be huge, which he did in Civil War, but now he actually turns huge. And yeah, the thing you need to say from this movie is that the Wasp is introduced. Let me just one second. Okay, I'm so sorry for that. I need to check the battery because I'm literally on 4%. I know I need a charger, but I don't have it here. Anyway, thank you for bearing with me for 27 minutes. I still have a lot of stuff to get through, so let's just keep on going. And I apologize, I need to check the battery. Then you have Captain Marvel. Oh, by the way, the end scene and the Wasp is Hope Van Dyne, Hank Pym, and Jenna Van Dyne, Hope's mother, who they rescue from the quantum realm, which is like really tiny, really important though. Really tiny. It comes into importance later on. But yeah, and Captain Marvel, 2019. Really good movie, receives a bad rep because it's a strong, independent woman who can fly. People just say, "Oh my god, she's just so bad." I mean, look at Iron Man. What's the difference in terms of confident character who doesn't doubt their abilities? And apparently she's a creep that we discover that she's human and turns on the guy who trained her, played by Jude Law, by the way. And she has these awesome powers. Her eyes light up. She can fly. She's just amazing. And yeah, pretty much, the plot. It's about the Tesseract. Nick Fury's in it, and Nick Fury has both eyes. And you have Goose, who's the cat, and he is an amazing character, by the way. He eats the Tesseract at one point. And we find out that it is Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, who inspired the Avengers Initiative because her nickname was Avenger. And then we have Avengers End Game. So at the end of Infinity War, the post-credit scene is after they all die. Nick Fury manages to squeeze in a message, an alert, telling Captain Marvel to come to Earth, and she does. And she's directed to where Tony is in the middle of space after the Battle of Titan because a lot of people died, and it's just him and Nebula, Gamora's sister. And they get rescued, they get put back to Earth, and we get a time jump of 5 years. Tony has a daughter, and they are trying to get people back. They go back in time using the quantum realm because Ant-Man is released from the quantum realm by a rat. And they use his knowledge to go back in time and collect all the Infinity Stones. Oh, I remember the last Infinity Stone. It is the Soul Stone, and it is introduced in this movie, Infinity War. Sorry, not Endgame. And you have the team, so it's Ant-Man secures the scepter, Tony and Steve secure the Tesseract, and they have to go all the way back to the 1970s to get it. Then you have Thor and Rocket getting the ether. You have Nebula and Rhodey getting the Power Stone. You have Hulk getting the Time Stone. And you have Clint and Natasha getting the Soul Stone. Natasha dies in this movie because she has to sacrifice herself to get the Soul Stone. Like Gamora did. Gamora didn't sacrifice herself. Thanos sacrificed her to get the Soul Stone. And she get eventually all the 6 stones. They go back to Earth. They put them in a gauntlet. Hulk snaps the gauntlet, and all life is restored. But also Nebula that came back isn't the Nebula we like. It's in 2014 Nebula. So she manages to get Thanos back here, and there's this huge battle in which all the dead Avengers come back. You get shivers on your spine. It's so good. Trust me, it's so good. And they win. They manage to prevent Thanos from killing everyone. But Tony manages, when he does it, he manages to dig out the stones and snap Thanos' army out of existence. However, this snap is super powerful, and Tony also dies. And then Captain America, he is tasked with going back in time and giving all the stones back. He remains back in the past with Peggy, the love of his life from the first Captain America movie, and he gives a shield to Sam. More on that later. And there you have phase 3, because it's divided into phases. Anyway, then you have Far From Home. It's Spider-Man after the blip, which is like the snap, and he's on holiday, but you have Mysterio, who apparently fights these elemental creatures, but he really is a bad guy. It's all good because they discover it, and Peter and MJ finally get together. Just like Tom Holland and Zendaya, who played respectively Peter and MJ, and they're now officially together. It's been made public after some paparazzi photos, and then Tom Holland posted on Zendaya's birthday. And yeah, Happy is an iconic character from the first Iron Man movie. He's in it too, but he's also helping Peter Parker. And he's missing Tony Stark because, well, Tony's dead. Yeah. And then you go into the Disney Plus shows. We have WandaVision, which is like, it starts off really weird. It's about WandaVision. Vision died in Infinity War twice, but he's alive here. It turns out it's just an illusion Wanda created. She created a whole town to kind of live out a sitcom life. She has 2 kids, and there's this evil witch called Agatha Harkness, nicknamed Agnes, sorry. And we have this huge battle, and Agatha, she wants she was planning everything that went wrong with the whole WandaVision thing at the beginning. It was Agatha all along. She was planning it all the time, and then they get into a battle. She wants to learn Wanda's powers, and Wanda discovers she is the Scarlet Witch and fully transformed into the Scarlet Witch, and leaves without Vision because he's just an illusion, and without her kids because they're fake too. And here we have Jimmy Woo from Ant-Man and the Wasp, an amazing character, and Monica Rambeau, the daughter of Maria Rambeau, who I will forever argue is Captain Marvel's girlfriend. It's a really good show, which is with different sitcoms, different years, 50s, 60s, 70s. Really recommend it. Then you have, by the way, this is 2021. Then you have Falcon and the Winter Soldier, an amazing show again, 2021, and it's about Sam and Bucky and the new Captain America and Carly Morgenthau, this teenager who wants super serum for people to take care of themselves, because after the blip, they start favoring people who had been blipped out, but not the people who had stayed, and they form this radical organization. And by the end of the show, John Walker, the new Captain America, is forced to give up the shield, and Sam Wilson takes it from himself, therefore becoming Captain America. And some of the scenes Sam and Bucky have are absolutely hilarious. Bucky's no longer the Winter Soldier, technically, because he's free out of the mind control. But anyway, and it's a really good show, honestly. I promise. And then you have the Loki show. Loki, I mean, it's just called Loki. It's about Loki. It's kind of set after Endgame, but also after Avengers. It's 2012 Loki. And he's going through time of Adam's authority because he managed to escape with the Tesseract after part of the time heist in Avengers End Game went wrong. And he is taken into the TVA and interrogated by Mobius, which I firmly believe they're dating. The chemistry that these guys have is amazing. There's another variant that they're trying to hunt, and there's also another Loki. And it sounds really crazy to explain, I know. But then they go fighting for this Loki, and our Loki had just talked to this other Loki called Sylvie. And they're kind of a thing, which is a bit weird because it's self-sussed. But anyway, they both get pruned, which is a way of saying, by both I mean Mobius and Loki, and then Sylvie prunes herself. It's kind of like killing them, but not really, transporting to another dimension. Not dimension, but another time moment thing. And here we meet a ton of Lokis, including Gator Loki, also known as Loki, Skokie, sorry. You have classic Loki, Bosu Loki, Kid Loki. It's all talking about Nexus events, which is what caused everyone to get caught. And then you have He Who Must Not Remain, He Who Remains. I got confused with Harry Potter there. And it's Kang the Conqueror, which is really amazing. And of course, we have the Mephisto theories, which were true. And you have the famous kiss between Loki and Sylvie, which is a bit. But anyway. And then you have, that is okay, there's going to be a season 2, so I don't know about that yet. Then you have Black Widow, which is an amazing movie about Black Widow after Civil War and before Infinity War. And we meet Yelena Belova. She's an amazing character. I don't know, I've said it like 100 times. She's like Natasha's little sister, but not really. And they defeat the Red Room, which is where Natasha was trained as an assassin. They defeat the guy who manages it, and yeah, we also find out what happened in Budapest, which is kind of a big deal in the movies before, and we find out here. Big house. Hi, so my phone decided to die for absolutely no reason in the middle of recording the last video, which is really annoying because now I have to stitch these videos up, and it takes ages, and it's already past midnight, so that's fun. Yeah, I was talking about Black Widow and I forgot what part I was saying, so I'm just gonna move on. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I do not know why my phone died, because it shouldn't have died. It had enough battery, so not my fault, it's the phone's fault. Anyway, let's continue. And well, Black Widow is really the last it's no longer in theaters, and it's still on streaming access. It's on premium access on Disney Plus, I mean. But it's the last fully finished Marvel project. In that sense, it's not released to the public in digital or physical. And the next thing we have is What If. It's still being released. The 4th episode has just been released as of recording this, by the way. And it's like alternative scenarios. This is, able to happen because in Loki, the multiverse was unlocked after Sylvie kills He Who Remains. And it just tells you about different scenarios. The first episode was Captain Carter, so what if Peggy takes the serum? Second episode is what if T'Challa became Star-Lord? Third episode is what if all the Avengers died? most of them. The fourth episode is Evil Doctor Strange. The fifth episode is going to be Party Thor, I think. Sixth episode, I forgot. Seventh episode is going to be Zombie Avengers, which I'm really excited for, but I have no idea what happens. And so I can't really tell you because I have no idea. And then we have finally Shang-Chi. As of today, it's the last thing that has come out. And it is so good. It is the best thing I've seen in a while. The best thing I've faced for so far. I mean, maybe excluding Loki. I love Loki. A lot of people hate it. I loved it. And yeah, it's the best movie I've faced for. Well, we only really had 2 movies in phase 4. And it's just also, I mean, Simu, who is amazing. I love the guy. And it's just, it's about, I don't know if I should say because it's just, I'm just going to say it anyway. I mean, it's about this guy who lives in LA, really not too far from where Ant-Man and the Wasp took place. And he has his father, he is the guy who has 10 rings. The 10 rings, I've mentioned them, they're the terrorist organization, Iron Man 3, turns out they were impersonating the Mandarin, who was really Shang-Chi's father. He has the 10 rings, he can manage it, he's immortal, he has lived for 1,000 years or so. And he has this necklace, and his sister has a necklace as well. And some men steal this necklace from him, and they also steal the necklace. They also try to go for his sister. But before they go for his sister, she wanted just to go and warn her. And here we also find Wong and the Abomination, which is kind of weird. I still have no idea what they're doing there. But anyway, they get attacked by the Mandarin's men, and so Shang-Chi, sister, and Katie, who is Shang-Chi's friend, they go all the way to where the Mandarin is, and they have a little reunion, although not a happy one. And we find out that the Mandarin, he wants to he's hearing his wife's voice in his head from a secret village where she was before. Wife, we find out that she's killed in an attack when the Mandarin wasn't there. And so Shang-Chi, he travels to this place with Trevor Slattery, the guy who plays the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, the actor. Absolutely hilarious, really funny. And they go there and warn that the Mandarin is coming, and they defend this place. A lot of people die, including the Mandarin, including some people a guy whose name I've forgotten. I felt kind of sad when he died because I liked him. He barely had any screen time, but anyway. And Mandarin dies, and Shang-Chi manages to get control of the 10 rings, which is kind of cool. And there's dragons, which is amazing. And yeah, that's pretty much it because I don't want to give anything else away, although I pretty much get the entire plot. And so yeah, this is a really quick, really bad summary of the MCU, of the history of it. In terms of future history, you have the rest of What If. Then you have the Eternals coming out in November. You have Hawkeye coming out in November, which I'm really excited about because, I love me some Hawkeye. Then you have Spider-Man No Way Home, which is in December. It's amazing. And then you have Miss Marvel coming out in early 2022. You also have Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, and a ton of other projects coming out in 2022, 2023. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm going to end it there because if I take any more time, it's going to take even longer to stitch together, which is really annoying. But anyway, please do let me know what's your favorite MCU movie if you've seen them all. The ones you've seen, tell me your favorite character, and yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. So I hope you like this thing. I mean, it's kind of weird, but I thought I'd make a video on the MCU because I love it. I hope you liked it. I hope you found it interesting, and yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.